Hi, this is Nicole Birkholzer of Mindful Connections, and this is the Red Sofa series. My mission is to mindfully connect horses and humans, and with this show, I'll bring you expert perspectives on everything equine and mindful ponderings from our own backyard. May you be informed, inspired, and mindfully connected. Hi, this is Nicole Birkholzer, and this is the Red Sofa series. Today I'm here with Denise Bean-Raymond from Exclusive Equestrian Services. And if you saw the last video I put up on my blog, you saw the book review I did, just a quick little teaser about Denise's work. And I'm really excited that she came here today with her husband, traveling in the heat across the state to hang with us. So thanks for coming.
Thank
so
you for
thrilled.
having me. I appreciate that.
So thrilled to have you again
You.
here.
Thank you.
So Denise was actually a big part of our expo, the Equine Wellness Expo we had last year. And she, as I said in my last video, she was so impressive because her entire booth was this amazing setup. I mean, it was just like, she came, ta-da, and there was this amazing business all of a sudden in the UMass Indoor Arena. And I remember seeing lots of people talking with you and coming over, and since then have heard from a lot of people about your work. And I'm excited that you're here today and that my horses get to experience a little bit of what you do.
Wonderful. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
To be here.
So let's talk about you. Where are you right now, and what is your main focus in your work? Because you do a lot, as we have discussed.
My main focus is my equine massage therapy and also my equine acupressure therapy. And as an adjunct, I'm offering nutritional guidance because I'm currently receiving my board certification in equine nutrition.
Right.
And then also incorporate essential oil therapy as well, depending on what we're working with on the horse. So that's sort of the main scope of my daily work, if you will.
Yeah. So in your background, originally you were actually a trainer, right?
Yes,
so,
I was.
So tell us a little bit about, because I know that your goal was actually to be a horse trainer.
Yes,
and
it was.
You're still little, but not really.
Exactly. I am not from horse family whatsoever. I am the only horse-obsessed person in my family. And I wanted to ride horses and teach riding lessons and train horses from before I could even walk and talk properly. I've always had this passion. And I became a licensed instructor in the state of Massachusetts when I was 18 and started teaching lessons and also then started training horses. And I really thought that that was my main focus and my main goal in life. I started taking all my students to horse shows and competing, and I was competing. My background is the hunter circuit.
I was just going to say, what discipline?
Still what I ride and still what I teach as well. I still do teach riding lessons weekly, obviously not as much as before. My practice is my main day-to-day work, but I still teach on a weekly basis a group of students that have their horses. And initially I received a back injury from a horse trailering accident. And didn't know really how to receive my healing. I didn't want to take drugs and do drug therapy, so I started going to physical therapy on land and in water, and it was very helpful and it was very beneficial. And then we sort of plateaued, and I was still having a lot of lower back issues of pain and swelling and heat. I had 2 compressed discs and 2 bulging discs all in my lumbar. And here I am teaching riding lessons, riding horses, competing, going to horse shows in that sort of condition.
Right.
So out of pure desperation and having no prior knowledge, one of my longtime students, who's still my student to this day, she's been riding with me for 18 years, she said, "Why don't you try acupuncture?" And I said, okay, at this point, I'll try anything.
I'm desperate. I'll do anything.
I didn't know anything about it. I think the only thing I knew at the time was I had heard acupuncture was good for pain management. So I went to a therapist that she had recommended, that she had been going to, and through that therapist, she started me also with a massage therapist. And so I started seeing these 2 women faithfully, and it took about a year because this was a very intense situation and injury. But I received my healing through them. I had no more pain. I had
Wow.
no more swelling. I could ride, teach, horse show, do everything. And a light bulb went off. I said, if that was so useful and so helpful for me, why are we not taking better advantage of these therapies and applying them to our horses?
Right.
So I said, I'm going to do that. I want to do this. So I researched schools to go to because I wanted thorough, valid programs. I didn't
Right.
want something...
Some weekend class?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that because you're affecting the health of these animals.
Right.
So I researched some schools, and I went through a program in Denver, Colorado for massage. And I didn't want to just do massage. I wanted to do acupressure as well.
Yep.
So then I went through a secondary program in Nevada City, California that focuses on acupressure for animals. And then I hung my shingle out. And I had a built-in clientele from all my students.
Of course, yeah.
So I started working on my
Great.
own horse, of course, and then all my students' horses. And I did that for quite some time, which is what I still do now. And in the meantime, several years down the road, I encountered some more health issues, some women's health issues. And again, I didn't really want to go on any sort of drug therapy or radical anything.
Yeah.
And that led me into nutrition. So I started really learning and exploring, and still am, human nutrition. And again, was like, we should be educating us all as horse owners and caretakers about more options and better ways to feed our horses and keep them healthy.
Yeah.
And in my immediate area where I reside, there's not a lot of people to call on for that other than a feed representative that is selling a particular brand of feed.
Yeah.
And of course, somewhat your veterinarian, but their knowledge is sort of limited because they're not nutritionists.
Right.
So I decided, well, I'm going to go to school again. And I'm going to get my board certification in equine nutrition, and that's what I'm doing right now. And in the midst of all of this, I was approached by a woman I was teaching riding lessons to write this book.
Oh, is that how that happened?
This
That's
came
the book.
to me. I didn't go and write a manuscript and send
Really?
it out to be published.
So why did she think that that's something you should do? Because I agree, that's something you should do.
Well, it's interesting because I've always loved writing, and in school I won awards in writing. It was always just something I loved to do, and it came naturally to me.
Yeah.
And I knew that at some point in my life, I had no idea when, but at some point before I left this earth, I wanted to write a book about horses. Didn't know what I wanted it to be about, didn't know when it was going to happen, just knew that I wanted to do that at some point in my life. And this woman came to me initially for riding lessons, and I taught her her first lesson. And the very next day, I got an email from an acquisitions publisher from a local publishing company.
Oh, wow.
And she said that her friend had met me the day before in a riding lesson scenario and had chatted with me, and she just thought, based on the way I taught and what we worked on, that I would be a perfect candidate to offer and create this book.
Great.
So you could have knocked me over.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I
Talk about flow.
offered it up, and I said at the time, if this is supposed to be what I'm doing at this particular time, then please guide me and have me be able to make this happen. Because I had, a full business going,
Right.
and had to commit to writing a manuscript on some very intense deadlines. And I never commit to anything unless I can fully do it 110%. So I was a little nervous in the beginning about making
How much
this
time did
commitment.
they give you?
Year and a half, which in a book isn't a long time. So I just put it out there and said, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then I will do it and it will fall into place. And sure enough, it did.
That's
So
so
then I
cool.
wrote the book in the midst of all these other things happening.
That's so cool.
And it's interesting. This practice has grown from a local practice to a national practice. The book is global. And it's just through a lot of hard work, yes, but a lot of faith. Faith and hard work.
Well, and we talked a little bit earlier, and I think that's something really important and very inspirational for a lot of people to hear, is that I think faith is one thing, but you read the signs when the time came to take an action.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. Is sometimes people go like, oh yeah, if it happens, it happens. Then if it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen.
Right.
It's like, yeah, when it's meant to happen, it presents itself, and you still then have to make a choice to move into that direction. So when the school shows up and it's like the right school for nutrition, it's still you saying, I want to make that commitment and get into that school. So it's one of those things where, you know, somebody gives you the opportunity and you go, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if I were an author? And then, but if you don't then take the action of doing it, you know.
Right.
And I think that's really your life so far from what I can hear. It's really one of being open and curious about things, then they come. If they feel right, you move.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Which I think that's a really, really great gift, and we all have that gift, I believe, but I think we question it. I have this friend that always says to me, oh my God, Nicole, we all have opportunities, but you seem to be the one that always takes them.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing, that, you know, and that's a risk sometimes. It feels like a risk because we don't know the outcome always. Is it always going to work out? And I think a lot of people, especially, and we have some in the audience here today that I actually know, that consider, when am I making that leap? When am I ready to be in a profession of offering services? When is the moment? And they're just, if we listen to the signs, if we watch for the signs, I think there's a moment when we know, and then we just need to do it.
I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree.
So now how did you get into the herbology and the essential oils?
That came sort of when I was starting my education in nutrition.
Oh, so that's
it sort of kind of branched off from that about, oh, there's other options here as well for, again, people and animals that we can take advantage of using, you know, oils for, whether it be for some emotional health or some physical pain or, you know, any sort of disease or disorder the horse may be having. Maybe it's a digestion issue, or it's an anxiety problem, or a skin problem, whatever the issue may be. A much better sort of, or different sort of option than just giving them drugs.
Right.
And the same thing with the herbology. And it's interesting because to this day I still have people, when you start to talk to them about herbs for their horses, they're like, horses can eat herbs?
Right. Really? Like, how about,
go,
they're right now out there eating herbs, by the way.
What do you think they eat every day, and what are they built to eat? And they're built to eat herbs. So, but people don't connect it and think in terms of that. And so it just sort of tied in, you know, when I started with all the nutritional work of, why don't we, again, we can use herbs for this, we can use oils for this, and tie it all in. And I'm a big fan of working sort of internally, externally, and environmentally with the horse. So, you know, let's do something with the dietary needs, let's do something with some oil therapy, let's offer the horse an acupressure treatment or a massage treatment, but, you know, kind of approaching them from several different levels to achieve one wonderful outcome versus just being sort of stuck in a rut of kind of one
physical
modality.
Or
exactly. I'm a big fan of that.
Well, and I think that's what makes you so unique. That again, I said that, and in case people didn't see that video, but what I love so much about your work is that you're not just a massage therapist, and nothing against, you know, somebody that is a really focused massage therapist. That's wonderful. But what makes you just so much more unique is that you, because a physical issue that can be addressed through massage, let's just say, still often has a cause that has nothing to do with physical, for example. So, you know, it could be an emotional challenge that the horse has, and the tension that is held, and an anger issue that is like, oh my God, and all of a sudden there's like a kink in the hind end, or there's a whatever. And for you to come and just fix the hind end only for a week later.
Temporary.
Yeah, because the neighbor in the pasture is still bugging this horse, and there's still this whole disaster. You know, that's what's so, I think, special about you, and that makes you such a unique practitioner, in my opinion. And I'm always, you know, in my work, when I go to a barn and a person comes and says, "Oh, here's a challenge," I just had this a couple months ago where a horse ran through a fence, and the owner was all concerned that this horse had a concussion, and because now this little horse and the other one, they were totally distraught and didn't even know. They weren't the same anymore. And she's like, something is wrong with these two. And it turned out that the little one had a concussion, maybe, but he didn't care. The other one felt guilty having caused the concussion.
Okay.
And that was the one making everything nervous. So
Yes.
we worked with essential oils
Yes.
on that horse and helped that mare relax and shed all that anxiety she had around the guilt. And the little one afterwards was like, thanks. I mean, he was just so cute. He was like, it was really not me anyway.
Right,
I mean, I hit my head, but big deal.
And I'm okay with
yeah,
that.
but her guilt was driving me
Right.
crazy.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
it's like, wow, you wouldn't think that. But that's what I love. You know, you look at probably
The
when you come to a
whole
horse.
picture.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
The whole picture. It's interesting because, again, I thought I was going to be a trainer and instructor, which I still am, but then I moved into massage therapy and acupressure therapy, and now we're going into nutrition, and I've started my second book, which focuses on nutrition. And it's my whole sort of scope in business has really focused, or changed, I should say, from just focusing on the therapies to I really sort of consider myself a holistic practitioner now, versus just just a therapist or just an instructor.
Yeah.
I've grown and changed now, and now it's much more. It's literally a whole picture base when I'm talking to the owner and the trainer and the horse. I want to know about all these things, not just he's sore in his left shoulder today. Yeah.
Well, so that's actually interesting. So I'm curious. So when you now go to a client, and let's just say even a new client, and often the owner has this idea of what's wrong, right?
Absolutely.
So and now you come and you probably have this ability to scan and be so aware of what's going on, right? Because you already saw that over there two horses are and the barn manager is really grumpy and has always a bad mood, and whatever. I mean, all the little things that happen, or like the paddocks are way too small, or in this
the paddocks are like this that they're standing on,
constantly on a slope. Yeah. And so, but the owner now goes, I want you to fix that shoulder. I mean, do you now get into the space where you're going to, you need to first fix the pasture before I can fix the shoulder? Is that where you?
Absolutely, I do. I go, you know what, we want to kind of take a step back and we want to kind of view this whole scenario, because we all have the same goal, and that's to help your horse the best we can, the most efficiently we can, the most effective we can, and for the longest time that we can. So I agree with you that your horse's shoulder is sore and they're taking a shorter step or whatever that may be. But in light of that, we certainly need to address that. But, you know, the stall is this, or the turnout is this, or the environment is this. So we actually have to approach this on several different levels. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to start with A, B, and C, see what sort of response we get, and then we can adjust and tweak things as we go. And everybody's kind of like, oh, I never thought of that. Or that makes sense. Or, oh, okay, that's what's going on, and the result is this. And they're very open. They're very open.
Well, because you also have so much knowledge. I mean, you come with this Superwoman cape into the space, and they're like, okay, so let me just show you what it is. So I mean, it's so you know, the information, I mean, all joking aside, the information you present is so logical, and it makes so much sense, and it is so clear that all these things would affect it, and people just don't think that way because we're not taught that way. And so I think that's a really neat gift. And so in a way, then you're really starting out, you're a consultant of the whole thing. So I mean, you could possibly be hired for a massage, and you leave having given them direction on how to fix up the property, and maybe not even touch the horse, because that wouldn't even do anything. But that's really what could happen, you know. And then you come back once that's fixed, and you're like, now we can actually work on the horse.
Exactly.
So that's pretty amazing. Yeah,
I tend to think, and I have my whole life, I'm a very logical and sort of sequential thinker. I'm not an abstract thinker at all. So it suits me to come in and sort of look at the environment, and look at the people around this horse, and look at the horse, and kind of start with the foundation, you know, the environment and the living conditions and the circumstances and the schedule the horse is on, any new changes or things different. Like, to me, that makes sense. So that's where I like to start. And then when you can kind of present your case, if you will, and then people go, oh, okay, I get it. I understand why this is happening now. And they want the help. They're calling you initially because they want the help. So if you can offer them some sort of concrete reasons and then some concrete steps to take a plan, that's what they're looking for.
Well, and in a way, you're really doing everything you're offering is actually seeing it through the horse's eyes. Because that's really what you do. I mean, you're not going from your perspective, only from the perspective that you notice
Yes.
as you're watching the horse, as you're looking at everything from the horse's view, really.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
which I think that compassion, because I think there are people that come and have just ideas of how they think it should be, like,
Yes.
the horse should be in the stall because that should feel so cozy. Well, a
Right.
horse usually doesn't think that way.
Absolutely.
Or they should have 3 blankets because I'm freezing. Well, but the horse doesn't.
Right.
And if you,
Absolutely.
as a practitioner, you really get that angle to really be on the horse's side, you're
Yes.
not only making the horse's life better, but I think you're teaching these people, many people, probably a whole new perspective on seeing their horse also
Absolutely.
a little bit differently.
And it's interesting too because people really do, for the most part, people really do listen and take things to heart. And I may receive a phone call or a text or whatever it may be, and they'll go, I remember you said I shouldn't have the water bucket there, so I bought a new water bucket today and I put it right where you said. And you go, oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I know.
You really did, you really
Yeah.
get it, and you're really following
Yeah.
through, and that's great.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't even realize sort of how much effect you have on the human as much as the horse.
Right.
When people just...
And there are only probably a few that actually let you know, and there are probably tons of people that you'll never hear, and it still has affected them.
Oh, yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
so there's even more out there that
Sure,
has
the
this
people
ripple
that
effect.
take the time to give you the feedback.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's neat.
Exactly.
So, speaking of horse owners and the connection with their horses, so have you noticed, or are you through the years aware of, man, I just wished that a horse owner or caretaker would understand X about horses so that the horse would have a better life, or so the horse would not have to go through this or not experience it? Is there 1, 2, maybe even 3 things that you say, I wish more owners would know this or would be aware of this?
I do. I think one thing is just sort of the horse's environment and living. I mean, there's different barns that I go to that horses are not turned out every day or turned out very minimally during the week, whether it be a property situation or a scheduling situation, but they're in those stalls constantly. And that's a big pet peeve of mine, obviously, because they should be out roaming around as much as possible.
Right.
And sometimes people don't realize how important and crucial that is to the horse's mental and psychological well-being, as well as their physical well-being.
Yeah.
So that's something I do come up against from time to time. Or if they do have the ability to do that, I'll say, you know what, can we extend that time? Can we make that turnout time longer? That would be better, with the anger issue or the anxiety issue, as well as, the physical movement. So that comes up fairly frequently, especially depending on what environment I'm in and what part of the country we're in, who has more land available, who has less, those sorts of things. Also, tack, it can be a big issue as far as fitting tack and what tack is appropriate to use, because sometimes you can get into a level, well, my trainer says I need to use this, and then you have to go, I understand the reasoning behind that, but coming from a health perspective and a physical perspective, this is what is the end result of using that particular piece of equipment. So we have to solve the health issues so that your horse can continue to perform for you. So we have to respectfully make a change. And you have to tread lightly, but you also have to put
be
your
the advocate
through,
for the horse,
or it's sort of pointless for you to be involved because nothing's going to change.
That's that little pushing the edge, and because there's always the trainer that everybody loves, and then however, if it all falls apart, then nobody's winning.
And that's where I have to say, just for me personally, that's where my instructing and my training background comes in handy.
You know how to handle that.
I'm a trainer and I'm an instructor, so I can say, well, I understand the reasoning for this particular piece of tack and choice, but there's another option. You could do we'll have a chat with your trainer right now and let's talk about it. And I like to get everybody involved. And that's always helpful too.
To bring them together.
On the same page. It's not just like I'm talking with the client and then they're, secondarily talking to the trainer. If we can get everybody involved at the same moment, that's always helpful as well.
Now, how is is it even possible for you? I mean, since you're only one being, right? One woman show with a very supportive husband.
I wish I could clone myself.
I know, right? So as you're speaking about all this, and we'll get them all together, and I'm like, so how the heck do you do all this? So what is actually a week in Denise's life? What does it look like?
It's chaos, but it's good chaos.
Okay. For a strategic thinker, that's probably strategic chaos.
You know, generally I'll do my lessons in the morning and start teaching in the morning, and then my lessons are done for the day, and then from lessons then I start doing my routine barn calls, and they go around. And I've always been very good at scheduling because I've always had a very busy life. Even when I was younger, I've always had a very busy life, so I can kind of schedule really well. I've learned how to do that. So I do my teaching in the mornings primarily, sometimes in the evenings if we have a weather issue or something. And then I start doing my barn calls, and I'll make the calls according to, like, if I need to see the trainer that day, then I'll coordinate so that I will definitely speak to that trainer before I leave that property that day. And then, of course, group things according to how many horses are at each property that I need to see, and of course all the different travel time. But it's like a puzzle every week, and I just put everything together so that everybody gets seen. I don't rush with anyone. Everybody knows that I do not rush. I spend all the time that I need for the horse and all the time I need to answer questions with the trainers and the owners. And I just put it all together and go week to week. And it works out. So,
but then you just told me that you're going to Texas.
Right. So then what I do
how does that all work? That's national.
What I do is to go away and teach clinics, and then also to go away to go to horse shows and treat horses. I have everything posted generally around January, February on my website and on my Facebook pages.
So you go to horse shows and then people sign up with you. So you say, I'm there, I'm going to be in Texas on da-da-da-da.
Contact me if you want your horse to be seen. And I put a whole schedule together. And then I leave a few openings for people that do just show up to the horse show and want their horse seen for whatever the reason. So,
but these people must know you already.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've been doing this for a long time now, so like they know that you go to this particular show every year, so they know you're going to be there. So, they'll even I was just at a horse show in Pennsylvania a couple weeks ago, and it's the same group that's going to Texas. So they're like, oh, put me on for Texas.
Right.
So you travel within sort of the same circles of people, so they know you and they know where you're going to be. So we all stay connected. And now with our cell phones and our iPads and our laptops and Facebook and everything else, it's so easy. I mean, you can get a text, right now from New York being like, when you come next week, can you add one more on? So we all make it work.
That's
we all
so
make
neat.
it work.
So neat.
We all do.
So you're really like a traveling woman. I mean, you're really on the road a lot, and not so easy probably to squeeze people in. So I'm just trying to see if anybody is interested now, saying like, I want Denise to come to my barn.
Well, what I do is when there's a group of people in a particular area or state, is if they do want their horse treated, I just say, if you can get a list together of 4 or 5 or 6 horses that are within the same area, it doesn't have to be at the same farm, but just kind of the same immediate area, if you will. And I can come out even for a day and start in the morning and just kind of work my way all the way through, and then leave in the evening. We do that. And I do that with different states. For example, I just had a woman in Connecticut. Just last week she had contacted me. I taught a clinic there the past couple of years. And she said, are you coming out to Connecticut at all this summer? I have a horse I'd love you to see. And I am going to a horse show in West Springfield, Massachusetts. So when I go to that horse show, she's only about an hour away. So I said, well, I'm going to be in West Springfield at a horse show these particular dates. I can come down to your farm before I start the horses at the horse show and fit your horse in. And of course now she has a couple others as well, so that's fine. So I kind of piece things together according to where I'm going to be, so that I can make everybody's appointment.
Great. Well, so we're going to definitely, so we'll put your website on the film anyway, so that people can contact you and get into that kind of pattern with you, your travel pattern. That's great. I also, before I say the next thing, if anybody here has any thoughts or questions, you can just give me a little signal, then I'll come right back to it. So if you have anything you want to ask Denise right now. So for today, we planned when we're here done with our interview, we're going to go outside and we'll most likely, the idea is we're going to work with 2 horses. You're going to work with 2 horses. I told Denise about Shana having still the laminitis issues and me noticing that she is extremely tight. I mean, she just has such discomfort in her body that everything is just like, ugh. And Denise said that one of the great things would be acupressure for laminitic horses, which will be great because then I can see what, you know, I can hopefully even do for her.
Sure.
And then you said you would want to show us a little bit of equine massage on Cutter, who will be all over that one. I'm pretty sure I'll love that.
My little Palomino bowling.
I know, exactly. So exciting. And then we'll see who else sneaks in at the same time, going like, excuse me, I want to come in there. So I think what we'll do is we'll just, unless you have anything you want to say right now that is of importance.
I would just like to say, if anybody is interested in any of these types of careers or professions or pondering or thinking about that, please, as difficult as it may be from time to time, trust your faith and trust your gut and follow through with whatever it may be that you're thinking you may want to do, because it will open up for you. I had no idea I was going to be doing this. I had no idea I was going to be writing this book or going all over the country and giving these lectures and interviews and all of these amazing things. And it's all come to me, yes, through hard work, but also through faith and trust. So if anybody's considering any sort of career changes or just a different path in life or even an extra path in life, please follow through with that, because I'm 10 years into this and this is my livelihood now. This is my complete livelihood and I had no idea I would be doing this. And secondly, I would just like to say thank you to all of these people and all of these horses that I have met in my past, that I have working in my life and my present now, and that I will meet in my future, because I'm very grateful for this opportunity, very grateful for all these wonderful people and all of these amazing horses. Deep down, below all of these professional levels and accolades, I am still the 5-year-old, crazily obsessed, passionate horse girl that I always was. I love to smell them and see them and touch them, and I'm just like, oh, amazing. So I just feel extremely grateful, and I truly feel, whatever your faith system is or isn't, I truly feel this is what I was supposed to be doing. I honestly believe that, because there's so many opportunities that have come to me in my life without me making them work.
You didn't you didn't need to do the work. It just...
They came.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone, and if you're thinking of doing something, do it.
That's great. Love it. Yay. All right, so we'll be back. We're going to the indoor now, and then at the end we'll wrap it up and maybe just do a quick little summary of what we did with the horses and any next steps, because then people can kind of see how the plan would be followed, you know, in the future. All right, we'll see you in the arena.